Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today we're looking at some interesting excerpts. They're from a piece framed as a coffee talk by Gersson Torres.
Right. And it really tries to get to the heart of how we affect our own happiness and, the happiness of people around us.
Exactly. So our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is really to pull out the key ideas about how we might be, maybe unintentionally, causing ourselves and others a bit of pain.
And the central theme running through it is pretty powerful, isn't it? This idea that a lot of the suffering we experience actually comes from ourselves, our own thoughts, our actions.
Yeah, it really challenges that feeling that we're just sort of, victims of circumstance.
Absolutely. This coffee talk really puts the focus back on the agency you have, the
Yeah.
power you have to shape your experience for better or sometimes for worse.
Okay, so let's dig into that first part, this idea of self-inflicted misery. The text mentions something I think everyone recognizes. Social media.
Oh, yeah. The endless scroll of everyone else's highlights.
Right, and how easy it is to look at that curated perfection and feel, well, like you're not measuring up somehow.
hmm But the piece makes a really crucial point there. It says, basically, just because you don't match those often, frankly, unrealistic portrayals online,
Mm.
it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean you're broken.
That's such a needed reminder, isn't it?
It really is.
So,
And what's interesting is the shift it suggests.
yeah.
Instead of constantly, straining to keep up or compare,
Yeah.
it encourages focusing inward,
Mm.
cultivating your own sense of tranquility, moving from that external rat race to internal peace.
And it gives some concrete things you can actually do. Like being polite to yourself seems simple, but how often do we actually do that?
So true. We can be our own worst critics.
Definitely. And setting small goals you can actually achieve so you get that feeling of, okay, I did that, and practicing gratitude. Simple stuff, but easy to let slide.
Yeah, they might sound small, but if you think about it, these actions build up. They create this foundation of sort of positive self-regard. It shows how much your internal state affects everything.
Okay, so then the conversation pivots a bit. It turns to how we might inflict misery, maybe without meaning to, on others.
Right. And it brings up some potentially uncomfortable reasons why we might do that. Things like, ego getting in the way or jealousy.
Or even just your own hurt kind of spilling out onto someone else.
Exactly. Your own suffering leading you to cause suffering.
Yeah.
And it makes you think about the consequences, doesn't it?
It does, because beyond the immediate hurt, it talks about eroding trust. That's a big one.
Huge. And also how negativity isn't contained. It spreads. It affects the whole environment, really.
And I thought this next part was really insightful, how it reframes kindness. Sometimes people think being calm or empathetic is weak, like you should fight back or create drama.
hmm That's a common perception.
But this piece argues the opposite. It says choosing calm instead of drama, going for calm, as it puts it, is actually a form of power, a strength.
Yeah, I like that framing. True strength isn't always about being the loudest or the most aggressive. Sometimes real power lies in choosing peace, choosing understanding, even when it's hard.
Especially when it's hard, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
So then it kind of zooms out. It brings in the idea that life is short, which, we all know, but
But it uses that as a motivator. Like, okay, given that time is limited, do you really want to spend it stuck in these cycles? Cycles of hurting yourself or hurting others?
it really boils it down to a fundamental choice you have to make, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The choice to uh, live lighter, to treat people better, to try and build something positive, something meaningful, instead of just perpetuating negativity.
It ties right back to that idea of agency we talked about at the start. You can choose a different way.
Exactly. It's not saying it's always easy, but recognizing you have that choice. That's the first crucial step, isn't it?
Definitely. And it lands on this very direct question for anyone engaging with the material. For you listening, am I adding peace or adding pain?
Wow. Yeah, that's direct.
It really cuts through, right? A moment for some real self-reflection.
It is, and it kind of perfectly sums up the whole discussion,
Yeah.
forcing you to look honestly at your impact on yourself and on everyone else.
Yeah. This coffee talk piece, short as it is, definitely packs a punch. Gives you a lot to chew on.
For sure.
So maybe as a final thought for everyone listening, building on that idea of building something real, what's one small thing, one deliberate action you could maybe take today? Something to add just a little more peace and a little less pain to your own life and maybe to someone else's.
That's a good place to leave it, something practical to consider.
Definitely something worth thinking about. Well, thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.